I remember this was somewhere in end of January 2018. Our concealer market went up 100 times in 2 days, right? Because concealers used to be available at X price point, we were able to bring it down at 1/3 of X, and it just exploded that day. I think the best way to raise capital is to tell people that you don't need capital. I think the world chases stuff that eludes them. So if you are running after investors, trying to do what they've asked you to do, you're preparing yourself for failure. Let's say your revenue today is X. Let's say your target for your revenue 3 years out is 2X, right? And what happens is your competitor in the market starts discounting significantly below their gross margin. Do you do it, not do it? Our choice is we will not do it, right? We will find interesting use cases of products that consumers will love to buy. Ideally, launch them exclusively on the platform, either in our own brands or third-party brands, and create demand for those products so that those consumers don't come to us because we are the cheapest one on the platform, but come to us because we are the only one servicing their needs. So now look, when your life comes under pressure and you're not able to do this quarter's revenue, you may want to resort to that pricing lever. But if you resort to it once, then you have to resort to it forever. We've always been this very Bombay Types company, and I'll tell you what this means.
Hello and welcome to Mint. You're watching Founder Diaries, where we speak to founders about their journey into entrepreneurship. Today we have with us Manish Taneja, the co-founder of Purplle, a beauty e-commerce unicorn. Manish is an electrical engineer by training who started a beauty unicorn. Today we'll speak with him on how he did it and why. Welcome, Manish. We'll talk to you about your journey as a founder and why you did, what you did. I mean, from an electrical engineer, can you take us through that journey to setting up a beauty business, essentially?
First of all, thank you.
Yeah.
Look, so I studied engineering at IIT Delhi. It was a dual degree course. So in 5 years, you do your undergrad and postgrad. You do a lot of problem solving at IIT, which sort of prepares you well for life. So while you study certain subjects, you end up, becoming very good at problem solving. You're generally, I would say, less deterred with any challenge that comes your way, because I think IIT throws a lot of challenges at you which are not easy to take at that age. Yeah, so look, I was good at maths. I joined an investment banking firm in Bombay, worked there for a few years, and then had an opportunity to work at an investing firm, which is Fidelity. Learned my chops on how to use capital really well. Started appreciating cash flows over P&L a lot more. And, when the time was right, I thought it would be best to not miss out on the opportunity to start on your own, and hence, Purplle happened. And look, lots of things came together at that point in time, whether it's finding the right set of co-founders, the right idea, I think just a bunch of things came together and it was a good time to start.
But why beauty?
Look, so usually an entrepreneur's role is to find solutions to problems that people face. I'll tell you how we went about our process of what we wanted to do. We were very clear we wanted to set up something in the internet space because there was some tide that was lifting all internet businesses up right back then in 2010 and 11. A lot more people were accessing internet through Wi-Fi. I would still say we were in the 2G era, and this was the BlackBerry era. So, but I felt like, a lot more people are just coming online for research and should be buying. Within internet, we thought, the best thing to do is to do a business which is about buying and selling. So therefore, e-commerce became a very, very relevant choice. There were other business models that you could do in e-commerce, in internet. For example, you could set up a news website and make money from advertising or subscription. You could also set up a classifieds business. But I think those businesses make profits at very large scale, which I didn't think we had the capital to sustain. And therefore, buying and selling became the easier choice. And so we said, why can't we do e-commerce? There was a challenge of offline retail in most parts of the country, barring the top 8, 10 cities. There weren't great beauty stores anywhere in India. I grew up in Faridabad, which is right next to Delhi. But I would say even till today, I think there's probably one or two good quality beauty stores in all of Faridabad, which would have a population of, a few lakhs. And last, we had to pick a category which we thought, we could survive and thrive in. When it came to picking up a category, I had a few criteria points on how to go about it. One, we should obviously be solving a fundamental need for consumer, which we were. I mean, beauty products were not easily accessible in beyond the top 8, 10 cities in India. Second, I wanted to enter a category which, has good gross margins, for you to be able to make your ends meet. It's the worst thing to do to get into a category where nobody makes money. Maybe just the industry dynamics is such that most people don't make money. Now, you can make money in such industries also, like perhaps how Indigo does in airlines, but that's an exception. I think third, we wanted to get into a category where you have high repeat. So I didn't want to get into a business which was one time, right? And therefore, sort of beauty fit in quite well. And last, I would say we wanted to get into a large category where if we were to able to get 10% of that category onto Purplle, we would end up building a fairly large business. So we never wanted it to be a lifestyle business. If we were to build a lifestyle business, as our jobs were significantly well paying, there was no reason to do it. We wanted to build a really large enterprise right from day one, but having our feet on the ground, taking one step at a time. But so that's how beauty came into being, and we're quite happy about that choice. I would say made 12 years ago.
Most entrepreneurs that I've seen, they've gone into this sort of line because they felt already that there was this problem that they wanted to solve. In this case, you appear to have workshopped a startup idea. Is that a fair assessment? And
look, I mean, maybe what you're referring to is if a founder faces a personal problem, they sort of go and solve it.
Yeah.
Look, there would be very few such cases because clearly this was not a personal problem. But tomorrow if you end up setting, like if somebody ends up setting a bank, it's not like they couldn't open a bank account, right? So I think the entrepreneur's job is to find opportunities where they can serve the society and in the end make a large business and a profitable business, and hence that's what we ended up doing.
How large did you assess at that point that your TAM was?
I don't know how reliable they are, but there were some Euromonitor reports that the beauty industry was $7 billion way back in 2011. And then I started removing things from that report which I thought were not our TAM. So I started removing soaps and personal care things because that's not what we would be able to serve profitably online. And so we probably were ended up with a choice of about $2-3 billion. But what happens is usually when GDP per capita evolves, and that's the leap of faith we took. Usually as your income levels go up, once your basic needs in life are taken care of, you end up spending a reasonable amount of money on discretionary stuff, which would be towards fashion, towards beauty, and so on and so forth. So we knew that this category would expand at nearly 2x the rate of GDP growth, and that's how it's played out to be. So today that 7 billion is probably 27, 28 billion, and the TAM that we serve is probably 10 to 15 billion dollars. And so we are a very small part of that TAM today. I guess we are probably 1.5% of that TAM. That's it. So we have a long way to go. But yeah, like that was the TAM at that point.
How did you go about the figuring out the product market fit for a category like this?
It's a really important question to answer. So one is, in our first 3-4 years, because we didn't have access to much capital, we were by default very frugal. Luckily for us, I came from Fidelity, which has a very value-centric mindset, and Rahul came from Tata Sons. Both of us were the more commercial guys in the company. Suyash was our CTO and growth co-founder, so he didn't take a lot of these commercial choices. So when it comes to the two of us, I came from Fidelity, he came from Tata Sons. Both of us have very value-centric mindset. So one is we were very clear that we would build this frugally because retailing business means lower gross margins, and therefore you have to make your ends meet with whatever margins you make. I think the real kicker in the story happened around, we bloomed a little bit late. And that's a question a lot of people ask us, like, how did you sustain for so long without capital? I would say we started blooming somewhere in 2018. In 2017, what started happening was that, as I was telling you, all three of us are engineers from IITs. Tech is like first language to us. So we'd been collecting a lot of data around our consumers, around their skin type. We wanted to replicate the offline experience of shopping of beauty online.
Yeah.
For that, we really need to know, what's your hair type? Do you have wavy hair or curly hair? Do you have dry skin or combination skin? Do you have acne or pigmentation? And likewise, whether you're wheatish or dusky, do you have warm undertones or cool undertones, and so on and so forth. So for us to be able to recommend the right products for you. So we started collecting this information somewhere in 2015-16, and by 2017 we were sitting on tons of data on who our consumer was. We obviously knew their income strata and all, and basis that we made this call where we said, we have this beautiful data. Can we start building some products on the back of this data?
Right.
So usually what happens is whenever you look at a founder of a beauty brand, they'll say, hey, I had this personal problem and hence I created these lipsticks that work for me, or so and so forth. Again, this was very data-led approach. We believe data is God. There is so much data available in the universe that can help you make better choices. It's up to you whether you choose to use that data or not.
So these data-led insights that you got, this was from your customers, or you actually went out to do other primary research?
It sort of breaks a lot of myths. So for example, at that point in time, 65% of our customers were wheatish skin tone, right? They had voluntarily told us this information. So therefore, the kind of lipstick shades that you would make would be more tailored towards them. I think 70-80% people said they had oily skin. And therefore, if you had to choose between making a face wash for oily skin versus dry skin, you would first deploy your resources towards oily skin and not towards dry skin. So I think it made our choices and priority order of those choices much, much easier. Of course, we went around and then spoke to them as well. But as I said, we're a little bit of these introverts at Purplle. So we love using data as much as we can. We do speak to consumers. We have a rule that we try to speak to consumers one day every quarter.
Okay.
Full
How
day
many?
spent. So about 5 or 6 consumers everybody should ideally meet.
Right.
Ideally once a month, but if not that, at least once a quarter. That gives you a lot of hypothesis on what to change. But I think the kicker, as I said, happened in 2017 when we started using this data to build our own products. Because there were lots of these niche use cases where the old school FMCG brands were not creating products for because they used to serve mass customers through general trade channel. And we were catering to these unique niches, somebody in northeast of India, somebody in Bengal. And we started building products for them. And as luck would have it, it started doing really, really well. And we just never looked back.
What was the bump in sales?
It could have been anything. So for example, when we launched our concealers, I remember this was somewhere in end of January 2018. Our concealer market went up 100 times in 2 days, right? Because concealers used to be available at X price point, we were able to bring it down at 1/3 of X, and it just exploded that day. Likewise, when we launched our first set of lipsticks, I think our lipstick business went up 7-8 times in a day. So this was like a shot in the arm that we were looking for a long period of time.
This was your own private label business.
Yeah, this is our own private brand business.
Tell us about the capital raising journey, because a lot of viewers, I think for them, that is a key challenge, access to capital. So clearly it helped you because you were from that ecosystem. You knew what to do and what not to do, would you say?
Not really.
Okay.
I think life never prepares you for these things very well. I think the best way to raise capital is to tell people that you don't need capital. I think the world chases stuff that eludes them. So if you are running after investors, trying to do what they've asked you to do, you're preparing yourself for failure. They won't fund you. Investors should never know what's better for your business than you should. So, you should be doing what's right in the long term for the business, and, capital will come to businesses that are doing well and where the founder has clearly found a good product market fit, and that's what your focus should be. Having said that, given capital is a important, I would say, input to any business, understanding how capital markets work, whether it's private or public, is important for any founder or CEO. So luckily there, my background in investment banking and investing definitely helped. I understand what language to speak to investors in. I understand that it's my fiduciary responsibility to not just raise capital, but also help investors exit the company. Yeah, look, so I'm a little bit more educated on those things, but I would say that if you are looking to raise capital, the best thing to do is tell people that you don't need money, and they will surely chase.
Right. But what did you have in that first pitch deck? That do you remember what you pitched to investors?
It's the same thing that I told you. Why we are entering this category is what I wrote down. We had a slide on the team. We had some slides on projections, which I thought were out of thin air. But then, when you're just starting out your business, it's really hard to project where would you be 5 years out. I think the early investors were broadly backing the team. They thought, I think they had done a lot of diligence on us. They found us to be ingenuous. One of the things we had told people is that we don't believe in discounting. And so we will not discount our way through scale, which is why we took first 6-7 years to really find our product market fit. Otherwise, you can always sell below the price at which you can buy, and there'll be a queue of people who want to buy from you, but that's really not a good business to be in.
How did you survive the first 6-7 years?
It was drip-fed capital. Every year a few crores used to come, and that's how it was managed. Our burn was also very, very low. Like, burn was less than 4-5 crores a year. So it was, it was a tight ship that was run for a very long period of time.
And at that point, your
and I think 2017-18, then we started becoming profitable because our own brands took off, and our own brands typically have 3x the margin that third-party brands have. And I think our own brands have a huge differentiator from a consumer's point of view. There are some products today that we sell which sell at over 100 crores a year, just one product. And those products are today only available on Purplle.com. So if I would say there are like millions of buyers yearly who want to just buy that product. If they want to buy that product, they have to come to Purplle. So my cost of customer acquisition on those products is nearly zero.
So these would be your own products?
These are our own products.
Right. And how did you scale? How did you scale them to 100 crores?
I think the first thing that you have to do is, at every product level, you have to find product market fit. You have to find whether it's a large need gap that you're addressing. Second is, does your product really work? Like, if it doesn't work, people might buy it once, but they won't repeat with you. And third, what's the competitive intensity in that product landscape that you're playing in? Once you feel these things are taken care of, you have a good product, you're addressing a large market, and look, competitors haven't done a great job of that category, let's say, then you go after marketing. Marketing can also be done in a very data-driven way. Again, our ethos of being data-driven comes in. I would say 6 years ago, people didn't used to speak about AI like how they speak about it today. But you could always collect a lot of data about, so many content creation experiments that were going live, what kind of content would do better, what kind of content is not getting the kind of views that other types of content are getting. So if you have to decide where to spend your money, what kind of content to create. So look, long back, I would say this is 2017 December. I was doing experiments. So I used to run marketing for the firm at that point in time, and category, which is building products and marketing. Rahul used to run all of operations, finance, HR, and Suyash has always been running tech and product. So one of the things we did, it's pretty simple in hindsight, but probably most people don't do it. India is not one India. India is like a collection of 25, 30 different sort of states. Each has different communities that live there. They celebrate different festivals. Um, you know, to them, different things matter, right? So whether you're somebody who's a Malayali living in Kochi, to whether you're a Telugu living in Telangana or Andhra, you just celebrate different things in life in your own different way. And so it was a very simple experiment. I just sat down with a priest and I noted down all the important dates for all communities in India. And I said, why don't we create content just before that? And we started realizing that the content started going viral. The same content that we would do in English versus Hindi, the Hindi content would go probably 15x more views. And so we said, look, this is making economic sense. So why don't we go after this? It was just very, very good data driven insights around, content that created demand for these products. And after that, your performance marketing engine kicks in and converts those demand, that whatever you've created, into orders, and that's how it plays out at Purplle even today. It's just significantly more tech and data driven today, given how AI has made computing so cheap. Today you can arguably, I don't need to watch a video. My AI digital companion can watch 30,000 videos produced in Malayalam in beauty, and can analyze what kind of videos are doing well, what kind of videos are not doing well, and therefore decide what kind of content to create and what kind of content.
Are there, challenges that you remember in your tenure journey where, it felt a little insurmountable to...
Look, it's every year. I think the biggest challenge is there are a few months where you do really well in a year and you become a little complacent, and then you hit a wall, and then you feel like, I wish I had worked harder in the previous 7-8 months. So, I mean, they would be just like, it would be every year. It won't be, I can recall many, but it would be every year.
So can you give us some examples that you can, then how did you sort of fix those challenges? That is the journey of an entrepreneur, fixing these seemingly insurmountable challenges.
I think the biggest challenge that I think one will face, and we face it every 2-3 years, is having the team aligned to one vision and one mission. Usually human beings are thinkers. They will want to do things differently in different ways and different things. For example, you just said, can you diversify into other categories? Likewise, I'm sure there are thoughts that go in everyone's mind in this office. So making sure that everyone stays aligned to the common goal that we have, and not just aligned to the goal, also aligned to the way we are going to achieve that goal, is something that's really hard. And we try and reinforce this thing every month when we meet in our senior leadership, where we tell people, this is what our goal is, this is what our near-term goal is, this is how we are going to do it. There might be many other ways to achieve it, but we will not do those. We will only go this way. For example, let's say your revenue today is X. Let's say your target for your revenue 3 years out is 2X, right? And what happens is your competitor in the market starts discounting significantly below their gross margin. Do you do it? Not do it? Our choice is we will not do it, right? We will find interesting use cases of products that consumers will love to buy. Ideally, launch them exclusively on the platform, either in our own brands or third-party brands, and create demand for those products so that those consumers don't come to us because we are the cheapest one on the platform, but come to us because we are the only one servicing their needs. So now look, when your life comes under pressure and you're not able to do this quarter's revenue, you may want to resort to that pricing lever. But if you resort to it once, then you have to resort to it forever. And I think the novelty in that thing also goes away after a point in time. If you always know that this product is available at 50% off, I don't think you're going to pay full price for buying it any which way. So next year you're going to expect 60% off and then 70, which is not the game we wanted to play. So, e-commerce is a competitive space. Everybody discounts quite crazily. we've chosen to stay away from it as much as we can. So if you look at our own brands today, it's really hard to do, but we've taken that call. If you look at our own brands today, our own brands are the least discounted makeup, skincare, or hair care brands in the entire beauty landscape. Now, it's not easy. Our competitors are selling at 40% discount, 50% discount. We are at 5-10% discount. So look, when there are sales, like sale events, we don't get a big bump in our revenue. But on a regular day, we do significantly.
How would you advise founders when it comes to retaining talent? Attrition, for instance. That is also a common problem that startups face, because now, of course, that there are so many options. But also you have like large companies. Every time there's a little bit of uncertainty, there is like a flow of capital towards larger companies. Is that something you've thought through?
Look, so one, I think it comes at the time of hiring decision. What kind of people are you recruiting? Are you also recruiting people who are short-term in nature and you have a flight risk? Every time the company goes through a little bit of period, will they leave and join a larger company because those are safe havens? So I think it comes down to, at the time of hiring, have you made the right choice or not? Have you really thought through hard enough whether this person is the right fit for me or not? Usually I tell people that at Purplle, once in 3-4 years, there will be a tough time, and I try to scare them up in the interview itself.
Okay.
And you can make your own choice of whether you really still want to join or not. There are a lot of people who shift jobs from old school companies to startups because they get a lot of monetary hike. We avoid those people. We don't think you should come here to work because in the next 2 years you want to make a lot of money and then sort of go and work somewhere else. Third, we don't have a culture of firing. So we've always been this very Bombay types company, and I'll tell you what this means. I think Bombay is full of these Gujarati, Marwadi businessmen who run their companies for a very long period of time, usually are not in the press, and usually don't overcommit, underdeliver. They sort of balance out profitability, top line growth really well, and I think last, I would say, you really don't know how much wealthy they are, right? I mean, they just don't expose their wealth to you, right?
Yeah.
I think growing up in Bombay post engineering has been that wonderful thing where, we've never hired too many people at one step. So we never had to let go of too many people at any given point in time. Even if we've actually just shut 1 or 2 divisions in our life. We recently shut one. We had 28 people in that division. 27 of them have been absorbed in other parts of the organization. So once people know that when times are bad, these people will not fire us, it usually makes a better sense in terms of retention, where they also know that this company is in safe hands. It makes profits. There's nothing to worry here. As long as you continue to perform reasonably well, you will stay here. So I think that's one thing, which is, one is hiring choice. Second is how much you hire. Have you ever fired lock, stock and barrel in the past? We haven't. And last, I would say, we always have a map of who our key high performance employees are. We personally go and tell them that we will take care of you in the long term. So, if you ever feel there is a need to go outside for, maybe better monetary experience or something, just come and tell us. We will take care of you in the long term. So personally, if you commit to the top 50, 100 odd people, they end up not leaving, and then they kind of set the culture within their team, and hopefully then it sort of percolates down. I mean, that's how we've been able to do it.
You mentioned something very interesting earlier, which is that we are not here for the capital. We don't need the money as such. Does that sort of percolate to your organization as well?
I think once people feel that they are reasonably wealthy, then it should percolate. Yeah. I mean, I think there are more than 250 people at Purplle. I will have to check my numbers, but who have ESOP. Many of them would be north of, crorepati now. So, they should have that comfort that, they have enough wealth. as long as Purplle is doing well, as long as it's making more profits than it was making last year, the stock price should continue to appreciate, barring 1 or 2 years where markets might correct. So, if they feel they have that kind of wealth, I think that sort of percolates. We also recruit very similar people to us. So, again, I think my entire thing boils down to how do you recruit. We like to recruit people who like to create wealth in long term. We don't like to recruit people who want to create wealth in short term. It is possible to judge some of these things when you're interviewing that person and putting them under stress.
Right. To conclude, I thought I'd ask you about your. You famously didn't do an MBA, right? And it's kind of hard to switch to investment banking and investment roles without an MBA. What would you say to a founder? What are the kind of educational degrees that the founder needs to, or what should they arm themselves with as they pursue entrepreneurship?
I think knowledge is everywhere. I think it's the desire to learn that's lacking. I don't think degrees can help you. No college prepares you for the kind of journey you will have, and each one will have very unique journey. My source of learning is books. I studied for CFA. I cleared this in 8 attempts. That's where I learned all my finance skills. I read a lot. I feel like if an author researches for 3 or 4 years to write a book and you can buy it for 400 rupees, it's the cheapest education you can ever have in your life. And if you can pick up 1 or 2 things from those books, and apply it to your work and personal life, you'll be pretty sorted. So whether you want to learn about finance, or whether you want to learn about AI, or whether you want to learn about beauty, or whether you want to learn about setting up warehouses and how do you set up operations that don't fail, I'm sure just go to Amazon, find the top 10 books on each topic and just go ahead and read them. I think it's easily possible. I'm right now reading a lot on AI and how it can supercharge any business, be it our own business or any other business. So whatever is your need at that point in time, just go ahead and buy 10 books and read, and you'll be much better prepared than anybody educated in that area.
We'll end it there, Manish. Thank you so much for your time.
Most welcome.
And we're excited to see where you take Purplle.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.